And right now we're going to stop wishing for the action to start, and I am going to bring up our first guest today. She is the author of The Bold Maneuver, The Working Woman's Playbook to Getting Ahead, Going Further, and Achieving Greater Success. So excited to welcome to the red carpet, Callie Cummings. Hello. Hey, Callie.
Nice to be here.
Nice to have you here. I'm excited to have you on the red carpet. We have a lot to cover. I want to talk about The Bold Maneuver. What is this book about? Why'd you write it?
So The Bold Maneuver is for the working woman who is trying to navigate the workforce and is struggling to get into those leadership positions where she can truly make a difference and make an impact. A lot of times, women are in a male-dominant workforce, and they're frustrated because they're in a junior to mid-level leadership position, and they just can't break that leadership ceiling to get to the next level.
So you have some experience being in male-dominated professions. How did you come to be the author of this book?
So my background started in education. I have a master's degree in global leadership and sustainable development, and so I really looked at leadership theory. But when you're 21 with a master's degree, what do you do? So I ended up joining the Army, and throughout that adventure, I became an Army engineer, and further a combat Army engineer, and became one of the first women to lead ground combat troops, one of the first in a group of women to lead ground combat troops, and that was in 2010. So that was before the dialogue really started, and it's still going. I ended up leaving the Army and going into high tech, and then going back into the Department of Defense. So leading an all-male combat unit in Afghanistan, I really had to understand how to effectively communicate with different personalities to get them to do what they needed to do for themselves, the unit, and the whole team.
Yeah, so there's probably not a better place to learn. That's a serious training ground. Why take this expertise and share it in The Bold Maneuver? What's your goal? How do you want to make a difference with this book?
I think the biggest thing for women in their mid-20s to mid-30s is everybody wants to go out there and do a great job. And sometimes there are frustrations and struggles that you encounter and you start to take personally. And those things that you take personally start to build up and add until you're so far into so deep that you feel like you can't get out. So The Bold Maneuver is a playbook. I give you 6 plays for different strategies. How I define The Bold Maneuver is going beyond conventional thoughts and actions to achieve your goal. That's the definition of it. So the playbook is going beyond conventional thoughts and actions to achieve your goal in your career. And so the playbook I wanted to really build for women who are struggling in these male-dominant workforces, or maybe just struggling because they don't feel like they fit into the culture, they feel like an underdog, and help them really break through those struggles and get to the top while having fun.
Oh, I love that part.
I don't want, it can be so frustrating, and it becomes not fun. And I don't want women to leave their careers because it becomes unfun.
Yeah, so important. So one of the things that we're focusing on today is how did you stop wishing and get it done? You're very young, so I know that you probably haven't had, some of our authors have had 10, 20, 30 years about thinking about writing a book. But how long did you want to write a book, and what was it that made you actually commit and get it done?
So I think I'm probably different from a lot of your clients that come in wanting to write a book. I didn't know that I wanted to write a book. I knew that I wanted to make a difference for not just women, but people in general. And I didn't really know how to go about doing that. And I also knew that I wanted to build a business around it. Somehow, I ended up on the author incubator. I don't know. I still to this day don't know how that happened. And I found your process in writing a book and realized that I could make a difference and create a business if I went in with the author incubator. And so for me, it was kind of a serendipitous moment. It wasn't necessarily that I came in from wanting to write a book.
Yeah. So there was a question that Camille from Paris asked, and I know that we just like questions from Paris. Hello, Camille.
Take it.
Yeah, exactly. We just want to feel like we're in Paris for a minute. But Camille was saying that there are some ways she doesn't feel like an expert. And I know you have a ton of expertise, both education and in your experience, but not a ton of experience as an author. So how did you deal with, she says, how did you get over it? But how did you deal with kind of balancing the places you were an expert and then some areas where maybe you didn't feel like an expert?
Well, first, I think it's important to say that I haven't done creative writing since undergrad. So that's a good 12 years that I haven't done any creative writing. It's been reports or, working for Department of Defense, different types of strategies. So I had to really just go out there and be creative. And so that was a real struggle for me to overcome. And I didn't notice. and I think, for that aspect of it, you just, I think being with the Author Incubator really, with you and your team, really helped me push through that roadblock of feeling like I wasn't there or I wasn't good enough to write. And with the expertise, for me, I came in with a different book idea, and I know you know this, and I won't say it, but it really...
Which was a good book idea.
It was a good
we
book
stuck with it for the first few weeks.
Yeah, we did. But for me, it really transitioned, and I think that was part of how the Author Incubator works and the difference process. So I didn't really get stuck as much as I thought I would because of the difference process.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. Yeah, I think so often when people start writing their books, they have either one really good idea, but it's really 3 or 4, but they don't recognize it. Or Camille was also saying there are several books in her, so they come with like a few different ideas and then they try and merge them, or they don't know which one to write first. So her question was, how do you choose which one to start with? I know the answer was that I beat you into it, but how would you answer that? I had the one topic. I didn't know who I was going to write this book for. So I kind of came in with an idea, and that just developed over time into the Bold Maneuver, the Working Woman's Playbook. And I just go back to, it was the difference process. I had a lot of different ideas, and like I said, this book is written for women, but it's not just for women. Guys can take this playbook and really utilize it to get through their career roadblocks and get to their next level in the leadership ladder. But for the difference process really kept me on track and going from idea and having somebody as a sounding board to keep me on track with who I'm writing this book for, why I'm writing it, and how I want to, because I think writing a playbook is much different than how a lot of other books are written in this topic. Well, but I also think what's fun about that is it also played to your strengths as a writer, instead of, like, we could have written an allegory or a book that was a lot of creative writing, but you were able to take your style of writing. And by the way, you guys, the way you can see what I mean here is by grabbing that Amazon link you will see on your screen and getting a free copy of The Bold Maneuver at Amazon right now. But it's you, your voice, your writing style, but still actually reaching out to that ideal reader. So I think that's one of the big messages I would want to say to anybody who's hoping, like, how do I stop wishing and get my book done, is like, be more of you. And I always say this to Callie, is like, we just want more Callie. We don't want, like, Callie being, a fancy writer. I don't know, I was trying to think of a fancy writer's name, but we don't want you writing the great American novel. We want you doing what you do best. So. And
I definitely think being with the Author Incubator, if I had 10 years to write this book, like you say, it wouldn't have gotten done because I didn't have the strategy or the path or the process behind me to do that. I think coming into this program, it really helped develop who I'm serving, how I'm going to serve them, and gave me a way to serve them.
Love it. Well, let's show everybody your book. Here it is. It is The Bold Maneuver by Callie Cummings. You can get this book on Amazon right now. The link is on your screen. Callie, thanks so much for joining me on the red carpet.